Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vExpert.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. This is Doug Brown, and we have a Citrix Ready podcast for you today. I'm excited about this as we have another company that I'm learning a lot about and quite impressed with what I'm learning, and very, very excited to share it all with you guys. The company is called Tintri, and they make a really amazing storage solution that integrates perfectly with the Citrix products portfolio. And today we have a couple of their guys with us. And what else do I say? But let's just dive into this thing, right? And I won't even try to represent what they're doing because they do a much better job than I could. I'm still learning. And as I always say, that's what I love about the podcast. Today we're going to learn together. So on that note, here's my interview with the folks at Tintri and Citrix Ready. Okay, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I'm looking forward to learning all about what you guys are doing, and this is just going to be great. So real quick, for my first question, as always, can you tell us who you are? So let's go around the table here. And Neil, who are you and what do you do over at Tintri?
Hi, my name's Neil Glick. I'm a technical marketing engineer over here at Tintri. I specialize in VDI and virtualization. I've been in the tech industry for a little bit of time now. Let's see, I'm an avid blogger and love technology and pizza and French fries.
I love pizza and French fries too. So, Lei, who are you, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name is Lei Yan. I'm the product and solutions marketing manager here at Tintri. So as the name suggests, I'm kind of focusing on the use case-based solutions like VDI, databases, and private cloud. And also we leading the cloud service provider solutions. So anything that's solutions related falls under my plate. And a little bit fun fact about myself, since you asked earlier, I like to I'm not a big baker, but I love no-knead bread. So something to enjoy over the length of a whole weekend and just wait for the dough to rise and punch it down. So that's what I do for fun when I have some low time.
That's awesome. I'm a huge fan of bread, and there's nothing like a good loaf of bread. It's so over or underrated. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's no butter, but your house smells like butter, basically. I love that.
I love it. So, okay, Sagnik, our old friend, you're back with us. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what do you do with the Citrix Ready crew?
Hey, Doug. Well, I'm not a baker, but I like eating what others bake. And I'm a technical marketing specialist for Citrix Ready. I manage the desktop ecosystem. So my core product which I work on is XenApp and XenDesktop. So I involve myself in getting the word out of such unique product integrations that thereby can help our customers make a better purchase decision when choosing a third-party product with XenApp, XenDesktop. So yeah, like Neil's, I love pizzas, French fries, and potato chips too. Not so much nachos though. What else? I have sport, by the way, marathon running. So yeah, not yet full marathons, but yeah, that's one thing that I've taken up. And I'm glad to be part of this conversation.
Neil, can you tell us a bit about Tintri and your product VM Store?
Yeah, sure. So Tintri, we are a startup storage company based in Mountain View, California. So we're in the midst of the Bay Area. We're founded back in 2008. And our product really specialized in virtualized workloads. And one of the fundamental beliefs we have is, since the workloads and applications are highly virtualized, over 80% now, I think there's a big disconnect in terms of what underlying storage needs to provide. Instead of based on LUNs and volumes, which worked pretty well, before the virtualization, I think we're trying to revolutionizing this space with our VM-Aware Storage. And we have very happy customers, actually 7 out of Fortune 15, that have trusted their VMs with our Tintri VM store. And we offer both hybrid and all-flash arrays, which we can go into a bit more details later.
That's kudos to you. 7 out of 14. That's an accomplishment. You call yourself a startup and you get that type of customer. That's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's still a startup, right? That's a kudos to you guys. That's quite impressive. So,
Thanks.
So that being said, you had mentioned you guys are revolutionizing storage, and I imagine you are with customers like that. So, can you explain how are you guys actually revolutionizing storage for the virtualized environments?
Yes, so we have actually built our file system and an operating system from ground up. So we recognize VMs in our system, and everything we do on a storage level is VM level. So including snapshots, cloning, replication. We recognize each VM and hunt it down. We understand the I/O path, making sure that the performance is isolated, so there's no noisy neighbor problem, and we guarantee the performance for each VM. So that's really the special secret sauce that sets us apart from, I guess that's why we're able to attract 7 out of Fortune 15 customers.
That's great. That's great. What are the different business problems that VM Store is trying to solve, and how are you doing that? Let's peel the layers off the onion, right?
Yeah, definitely. So as Lei said, the Tintri VM store is much different than traditional storage. Traditional storage, usually everything is based off of LUNs and volumes and what have you. The cool thing about the Tintri VM store is that when you present it to Virtual Center, it just sees it as one big data store. And so you don't have to worry about carving up LUNs. You don't have to worry about carving up volumes. You don't have to worry about RAID groups. It's all taken care of for you. What you are going to be focusing on is the actual virtual machines. And that's what's really different about the Tintri as well. When you log into the GUI of the Tintri, you don't see volumes and LUNs. You see your virtual machines. So that's a lot different than what you typically see in storage. Typically, you don't see that when you go into the product. And that's what's really very cool about the Tintri product.
That's very interesting. So let's like I said, let's start peeling off these layers, right? So that's interesting. What is the product? Is it a virtual appliance, a cloud service? How do I get this thing up and running, right? I say, okay, great. I want to try this out. I want to buy it. Now what? How do I get to the point where I'm starting to see these virtual machines, right?
Absolutely. So it's either a 2U for the all-flash, or we have, like Lei said, we also have the hybrid array, and it is an actual physical piece of hardware. And what you do is you rack and stack it, plug it in. It's very simple to set up. We even had a challenge a little while back that you could set up a Tintri VM store quicker than pizza could be delivered to your site. It is that easy. And so once you set it up, and like I said, once you present it to your virtual center, and you can present it to multiple virtual centers. Aren't just limited to one. Once you present it, then what you actually start doing is pretty much everything on the virtual center side. You start carving up the storage and adding virtual machines to it. And that's when things will start to pop up on the Tintri. You'll actually start seeing virtual machines start to pop up as they're created in Virtual Center. And then you can actually get a lot of really cool metrics that you wouldn't normally get, or would be a lot more difficult to get. What you'll actually see in the Tintri GUIs, you'll see, like I said, the virtual machine, how the virtual machine's performing, the latencies, how many IOPS the virtual machines are producing, what hosts the virtual machines are living on, how the hosts are performing. So like I said, we see a lot more into Virtual Center and vice versa than you would normally see. What you can also do with Tintri, which is, again, kind of unique, is that we've got QoS built right into the array. So what does that mean? A lot of people say they have quality of service, but what is quality of service, at least on the Tintri side? So right from the get-go, every virtual machine has quality of service. So if I'm running a workload, say on, well, let's just give it an example of 5 different virtual machines, and if I've got one, say, virtual machine that is particularly using a lot of horsepower, a lot of times in traditional arrays, those other 4 virtual machines or machines in general are going to start to suffer because a lot of arrays are first in, first out. Whoever is the strongest or most powerful, most demanding is going to get that attention. Not so with the Tintri. With the Tintri, like I said, quality of service is built in from the ground up, and you actually will protect those other 4 virtual machines from getting beat on by the workload that is consuming a lot of the cycles from the array. So what does that mean? So basically, all 5 of your workloads are going to get the attention that they deserve and will finish and do their processing in a timely manner without getting all beat up. Now, if you want to even focus even more so, what you can do is you can throttle certain virtual machines, or you can actually give them priority and say that, I want these certain virtual machines to have a certain amount of IOPS and what have you. But with QoS right out of the box, you don't normally even have to do that. Most of the workloads will get the attention that they need.
That's very interesting. So are most customers just popping this thing in and letting it do its job, or would you want to optimize it?
So there's not a ton of optimizations that need to be done with the Tintri. Like I said, it's pretty much a plug and play appliance. You plug it into your environment, you present the storage to Virtual Center, and you start putting virtual machines on. It's very easy. Now, I'm not saying that it's kind of a set and forget it kind of thing. There is a lot of metrics and information that you do get from inside the GUI. So once you go inside the Tintri GUI, you can get tons and tons of information about what's happening in your environment. And that's what's really powerful for system administrators and storage administrators. It's not the mundane day-to-day tasks of setting up volumes and cutting things up in the storage environment. No, what the real power for a system administrator is knowledge, and not just for system administrators, but for everybody. Knowledge is unbelievably powerful, and the Tintri gives you that knowledge. It tells you where things are bottlenecking, where the problems are. Is it storage? Is it networking? Is it host latency? Where the actual problems are. And like I said, when I was doing this as a system administrator, people would come to me and say, Neil, there's a problem in the environment. Go fix it. And that was a very, very difficult thing to figure out. Not so with the Tintri. The Tintri gives you a lot of information about what's going on in the environment, who the bullies are, who's not getting the kind of attention they deserve, and what's going on. What does that basically equate to? Capital and operational expenditures. So once you buy the box, that's really your only capital expenditure. But the big things that we don't normally see, that we don't equate to, are the operational expenditures. Like I said, when I was a system administrator, and people would come to me and say, Neil, there's a problem, and I was like, well, what's the problem? I have no idea. Then we start getting into operational expenditures that can be very expensive. So if I spend a whole day looking and trying to track down a problem, that's a whole day that I'm completely unproductive because I'm not doing all my other tasks. Again, with the Tintri, it's very easy to help track down problems and find out what's not just necessarily problems, but just how the environment is performing. A lot of people want to know that their applications and their virtual machines are getting the love that it desires and that it needs. And with the Tintri, I can dial right in and find out what's going on.
You got it. Do you have any examples? Maybe, and that's really interesting, to hear from a storage vendor, right? Do you have maybe an example of that in production and, in real life you can share with us?
Absolutely. So one example that I like to give to folks is if you are, say, running your production on Tintri. And let's say, for example, I'm running VDI, and I've got a bunch of desktops that are running, and they're all just kind of humming along okay. But then all of a sudden, maybe because you got to remember that even though the Tintri has quality of service built in, there is only so much of the pie that is allowed to go around. So once a workload starts to beat up on all the other machines, it is going to start, utilizing resources from the other guys, even though they are going to continue running at as best as they can. Now, if I've got 1,000 desktops, right, and maybe I've got one desktop that's doing that's viewing a lot of videos or downloading a lot of content, really just using up a lot of resources. Now, in the past, if I've got over 1,000, maybe 2,000, maybe got 10,000 VMs, or VDI desktops that are running, how do I track down that one, that one user that's really just abusing the storage, the networking, and the host? Now, we a lot of times forget that in a virtual environment, it's not just the storage and the networking that's heavily utilized. The ESXi hosts get very heavily utilized too, so they're going to have to absorb all of that demand that this user is using as well. Again, in the past, how do I find it? It's very, very difficult. You got to do a lot of searching. You got to be, very, very in tune with your environment and what's going on. With the Tintri, all I have to do is search the GUI, and it will tell me who the top offenders are, who's using all of those resources, who's being, I hate to say it, but who's being the pig, and we can easily find it. And like I said, in a real world environment, that is time, and time is money, as we all know.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. Let's change gears a bit, and what are your views on the Tintri partnership with Citrix Ready? And I'll ask this to both, to both Sagnik and then Neil and Lei. So let's start with the Tintri guys. And Neil, Lei, what's your view on the Citrix partnership?
Yeah, this is a partnership we really cherish, and we've been very active with Citrix. They're a great partner. We've done a lot of events and collateral development with them. And because our solutions really have that natural synergies, because we're very highly focused on basically good experience, customer experience, and we've won the Partner of the Month for May, right before Citrix Ready. And on their marketplace, we have active users actually deploying Citrix Zen Desktop and Zen Server, giving us great reviews and recommendations. So we're really happy with the partnerships that we have with Citrix.
That's great. Sagnik, anything to add there?
Hey, Doug. Yeah, I mean, at Citrix Ready, we are committed to help our IT leaders make better purchase decisions when choosing various options that work with Citrix. And naturally, we like to recommend great products. And like Lee just mentioned about one thing, that's the user experience. And so for our customers to say yes to VDI, they expect an unparalleled user experience with Zen Desktop. And storage, I would say, is a big part to play in that role and when to address the user experience. So there's a product offering that we mostly been covering, which is the VM Store, which is a hybrid flash array solution. We have verified it on our latest versions of Zen Desktop, and that not only can address an organization's storage issues, like Neil mentioned a couple of issues, but also do so in a very cost-effective way.
Yes, we find that especially for VDI projects, the user experience is really paramount, because once you experience a delay, usually infrastructure is to be blamed. So we really set out to solve that problem, just eliminate it completely with our performance guarantees. And also one of the things that we find is people usually have some success with VDI pilots, but then once it really rolls it to the production, things either can't scale, or there's some inherent complexity from the lines and volumes that it just doesn't support the scale. So I think with Citrix and and Tintri jointly, we really want to solve that problem so you can enjoy your production workloads just like you did during the pilot phase. And also because we are hypervisor agnostic, we are able to load multiple workloads on the same array. So a lot of our customers started out with VDI and feel really happy and started actually putting some, server virtualization workloads or test dev workloads on the same array or expand further. So we're really happy with working with Citrix customers to, have that satisfaction and also expand.
Yeah, that's a great point, Lei. So yeah, I keep talking about Virtual Center. So, we don't just support VMware. We also support Microsoft Hyper-V, Zen Server, and, a myriad of hypervisors. So, VMware just happens to be one that we see a lot of.
Yeah, and I think and Neil, you guys do bring a very important point, and that's about the mixed type workloads. And not just VDI workload, some of the real use case in an organization, they handle mixed type of workloads that could be high computing and high IOPS, which while some applications might be low IOPS and high computing, high IOPS and low computing, and all the permutations, right? And depending on the workload type and the priority that is needed in an organization, Tintri is able to give admins that empowerment that you can choose to select which one is much more prioritized, and you can maybe some can sit on 100% flash and some can sit on a low priority workloads which need not necessarily be immediately needs access to an end user. They can be back prioritized. So I really like that kind of flexibility that Tintri offers to our IT admins.
That's great. Sagnik, why have you talking? Can you tell us a bit about how Tintri VM Store works with the Citrix technologies? You do the the validation of the product. So what was that experience like for you? What did you learn from it?
True. Yeah, I mean, I have covered a couple of points here, and there are a lot of great stuff to talk about Tintri. But if I have to let me focus on one program that we conducted at the start of the year, and so here is the problem, right? So there are various storage options, and when a customer has to really choose which storage option to go for, it could be quite intimidating. I remember to have gone to a Gartner research that mentioned about the hype cycle of various storage features, and it evaluated 36 storage vendors. I mean, customer will end up facing the paradox of choice, right? And which is why at the starting of the year, Citrix Ready conducted what we call the VDI capacity program, where we provided a unique platform for different storage vendors to showcase their solution interoperability on Citrix Zen Desktop. So for a specific customer workload scenario, so that could be a 1,500 user, or you could choose a 3,000 user workload. Do that without reaching storage latency thresholds, without facing any performance dip, and do so with a very cost-effective design. And I'm glad to share that Tintri met all those expectations, and together we created a white paper showcasing the performance that it achieved an estimated storage cost per user. I believe it is about $64 and some change per user, which is absolutely fantastic, right? And I'm sure Neil can share some more details of that result.
Yeah, so what was really cool, thank you for that. So what was really cool about this is that we use a product, after we set up the Citrix Zen Desktop portion, we used a product called Login BSI, which allows you to do realistic workload testing. So it's not like your standard workload generation tool. What the way this tool works is you actually set up a VDI environment, you actually set up your users, you actually set up everything like you would for either a pilot or for a production environment. Now, what we did in this program was we used a hybrid array, but you could easily use either a hybrid or an all-flash, but we decided to use a hybrid for this one. And again, what's really cool about the Login VSI tool is that it actually tests as if users were logging into their desktops in the morning, doing some work. And what's neat is that it doesn't just, do a bunch of work. It actually simulates real people. So what do real people do? We take breaks, we take coffee breaks, we talk to our friends. And actually that's what the program even says. So it'll actually start typing up an email, send an email or two, start working on PowerPoint, open up a web page, and you can actually see the web page scrolling around. And then it'll even have a pop-up that says, going for a coffee break. And it'll take a little break of a couple minutes. Because that's, to be perfectly honest, that's how we actually work as people. And that's what's really fantastic about that product. Now, what comes out of this tool is something called the VSI Max. Now, if you hit the VSI Max, this is a holistic view of your environment and of all the components. So it doesn't just focus on one portion, it focuses on the entire system as a whole. And what this VSI Max will tell you is how many desktops you can run successfully before the environment starts to have problems. Not that this is your, where you have to absolutely stop, but this is where things will start to have problems. And what was really cool is when we were running this test, we did not hit the VSI Max. So we hit the 1,500 users, and basically our storage as well as our compute and networking could actually accommodate some more users. So that was what was really exciting about this. So not only did we pass the 1,500 as well as get pretty good price per desktop, but we didn't hit the maximum. So we could actually, for the system, start to add a few more users if we wanted to.
Yeah. And that makes sense, right? I mean, many times an organization can plan for a 1,500, but due to the slow success that they quickly see slowly from VDI, they would like to scale up, and still with the same Tintri solution, you can scale up without having to purchase another rack. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if you want, what you can do is you can use your Tintri array, not just for VDI, but if you have the capacity, you can continue to add other applications, maybe an email application like Exchange or SQL Server or what have you, depending on what you have in your environment. But you do have to remember not to fall into the trap of over adding into a virtualized environment. And this is not just a Tintri problem. This is a problem that people have with virtualization in general. It's almost like I still have checks in my checkbook. I can still keep writing checks. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So you do need to keep an eye on your environment.
Yeah, I think, and also for our Tintri environment, we give much more intelligence on the, actually see how much reserves, not only capacity, because you might be thinking, hey, I can add 500 more desktops, but you have to look at your performance reserves as well. Like, can you accommodate the same type of desktops? And what kind of, is there enough room to breathe through the IO storms, right? So things like that, we really provide a realistic visibility.
That's a great point, Leigh. I totally forgot about that. On the front of the Tintri GUI, Leigh is absolutely right. You can actually see how your reserves are doing and how much you have left that you can continue to add. So it's not just about how much space you have left on the array, but how much horsepower the array has left as well.
I love it, guys. They'll wind you up and let you go. That was a great exchange there. That was awesome. I love it. Love it. So anything else to add there, Sagnik?
Nope. I think we covered it pretty much all.
Yeah, I think from our end, we've done the testing on a hybrid array with Citrix. We also engaged a independent, a vendor and use IOMark VDI testing for our all-flash array. So just a very quick highlight. We've actually tried for 3,000 VDI seeds, and the reports mentioned that we had 60 times data reduction for persistent desktops, and we come at $75 per desktop just based on listing price. So that's pretty impressive. So I just want to share this interesting thing. I think people who have heard about IOMark benchmark testing and evaluate group will have a good idea of what it is.
Yeah, that's a great point, Leigh. So there's some great tools out there, and like Leigh said, we for this benchmark we had a third party come in and test with IOMAR. And this one was on an all-flash array instead of the hybrid like we did with the Citrix capacity program. And that paper, like the Citrix paper, is available online. So please feel free to take a look if you'd like to.
Perfect. And maybe you guys can send me those links and I'll throw them in the show notes. So the guys listening, you can just look below the audio, or if you're on iTunes or something, go to the website, check out the show notes, and you'll find that, or head over to Tintri's site, which will give you all that info at the end of the podcast. So definitely a lot of great stuff. That being said, you guys have really answered this question many times over, but why Citrix and Tintri? So I'll throw that at both you guys. So Tintri guys, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I think we've touched upon the key points, but I think what will be better, what will be the best if our customers, our joint customers say so, right? So with Citrix, we have a lot of joint customers, and I can name a few here. We have Champion Solutions Group, which is a kind of a channel partner for us, but then they're also end users. They recommended Tintri above, you know how crowded the storage space is right now, above all the other vendors in terms of, manageability, performance, and cost to their customers who actually have both Xen server and vSphere environments. So this kind of showcase, how competitive, our product is, and as well as how good it can serve the user workloads, which are realistically, they're kind of in a mixed environment. And we also have a typical, like a cloud service provider, and I can name a few like Cerity and Weir Cloud. So they're not only providing, they're looking into providing desktop as a service and using Tintri to power their services. What they find is that they are able to satisfy, again, the simplified management and improve performance for their customer workloads, which are very unpredictable and you have no control over. And because we have the built-in QoS as well as the ability to set a particular IOPS minimum and max, it really helps service providers to have that knob in their hands to be able to create tiered services so they can really monetize and create and generate some really creative service offerings that are impossible with other platforms. And then both of these examples are using Xen desktop. Some are having Xen server environments. So we're really proud and happy to say that we have many happy joint customers. And what I mentioned all have public case studies as well.
Perfect.
Hey, that's glad. I'm glad we're doing this, and glad Tintri is doing what it does, enabling our customers and do so in a very cost-effective way. From my end, I would end with in spite of the massive potential that our VDI offers in transforming the modern workplace, the adoption has been slow, and because of which the Tintri and the Citrix solution can resolve the common barriers, which is the latency, the lack of visibility, and the managing complexity, and not to forget about the high cost. So, which is why that essentially means why I would choose Citrix and Tintri together. It's a win-win.
Yeah, when we were doing the joint paper with Citrix, I think Citrix did some ground research that they found that storage actually really takes up a huge percentage of the cost of a particular VDI project. And we fundamentally believe it doesn't have to be the case. You don't have to live with pain points. If you can go beyond and start focusing, choose a storage platform that actually focus on your workloads and let your team really manage the desktops, which they're good at, and not really too bothersome with the storage management. It should be simple. And so that in the long run, you're really saving a lot on OpEx. And you have happy customers, you keep your costs down so that you can expand your virtual footprint to some other projects, if you wish. And most importantly, because we have that guaranteed performance in QoS, you can do a lot more that you couldn't do before. And then there's just, it's probably for the purpose of this podcast, we're not going to go beyond that, but there are many possibilities that we can discuss in some other future episodes.
So can you share some customer success stories with us from deploying Citrix and Tintri, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the easiest things that keeps coming up in our customers are ease of use, and if you call it simplicity. I mean, it's a kind of an overrated term, but in our mind, it's actually really important for customers who could be, thinking on resources, or they're not storage PhD necessary, and they're just trying to roll out a successful VDI project. And the example that I have in my top of mind could be University of Arkansas. So we have a lot of higher education college customers that they claim that for the VDI to come up and running, it's just 15 minutes. And Neil can really go in detail exactly how they do it. And the customers are just really amazed by the simplicity of doing it by someone who is not necessarily the storage team. And all I do is put it on the rack, give it an IP address, and it probably takes longer, right, to take it out of the crate than setting it up.
Yeah, indeed. So it usually does. But like I said earlier, we definitely had our pizza challenge where we said that you can set up a Tintri array quicker than the pizza will get to your site. So it really is that easy. It's very easy to set up. It's very simple.
That's great. That's great. And then I love the competition question, and you guys have mentioned it quite often. There are, the storage space is a crowded space, right? There's a lot of you guys, and we've had a few on the show over the past, months, right? And what separates you guys from the rest? Why should we look into Tintri versus, all these other guys doing what they say you do, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Let me answer it in twofold. From our perspective, I think what really put us apart from competitors is our VM-Aware storage. The very fact that we really keep your focus almost away from the complexity of the underlying storage and focus on the application. So our file system, which can do everything data management wise on a VM level, be able to have VM level analytics and QoS, which are unique, really unique features that we are offering. So that's what set us apart from a lot of the conventional storage, which has an architecture that's actually designed pre-virtualization and cloud. The other thing that is probably best spoken in the words of our customers, when they're evaluating all the storage vendors, right? They are looking at a combination of factors, and cost is never the only deciding factor. So one of our customers, Cerity, who is a cloud service provider offering desktop as a service, they put it so nicely. They call it a Goldilocks of performance, density, and TCO. So they really, I think they're really expert, in terms of, hey, what are the key factors that really go into a storage purchase. So I highly recommend reading that case study. And their experience is like they took a holistic view of evaluating our storage, and it just come up on top. Neil, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, there's like you said, Doug. There's lots of great storage vendors out there, and they make great products. Don't get me wrong, they're good products. What's like what Lei said, the Tintri was purpose built, and to use that term VM aware, to be able to see what's going on in your environment. And I know I've said this a couple times, but back when I was a system administrator, very difficult to try and find the problems. And when those problems come, and they will, it's great to have something that will easily point to where the problem is, and to quickly allow you to focus in, and so that you can solve that problem.
Yeah, and a lot of features that our customers find amazing is, oh, you support QoS on hybrid. How about hot flash? I'm like, yeah, you can always mix and match, because our architecture is one uniform model, right? Based on one uniform model. And what's more important is, for a lot of organizations trying to go into cloud, they don't have to reinvent again, kind of re-architect again, because in our design from the start was taking that into consideration. So I think that's one of the things that organizations might be really interested in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like what we try to say is, spend your time, do it, making sure the environment's working, making sure everybody's happy, making sure that things are working right. Don't spend your time, carving things up and trying to, optimize it. That's what's really great about the Tintri. It just right out of the box, everything is optimized, ready to rock and roll.
That's great. That is really great. And Neil, I love when you say, when I was a system admin, I would have loved it, because that's how I think too. Is would this solution solve the problems I was facing? Maybe it was a different time or a different, era, right? But the problems tend to be the same. Would this solve my problem? And if it would, I bet it's going to solve a heck of a lot of other people's problems too. So I love when people say that. Guys, this is I think I'm done with the questions. I will, say thank you, give you the last word. And if there's anything I left out, speak now or forever hold your peace, right? So thanks again.
No, I just on my side, I'd just like to say thank you so much to you, Doug, as well as the Citrix team. Really appreciate all of their help and support. Thank you, Lei, for your help as well.
Yeah, and then for the audience who can't wait to get their hands on something, because we said so many nice things about Tintri and Citrix, try out on explore.tintri.com. Just there are 10 very simple workflows that you can get a feel of what our system can do and what UI looks like. Very, very hassle-free, way to try it out. Yeah,
that's a great point.
Thank you so much. As soon as I asked that question, I think I do this almost every podcast. I forgot to ask you the question: if somebody wants to learn more, what do they need to do? So I'm glad you threw out that that URL, because guys, definitely check out what these guys are doing. Very successful solution, and really, really neat stuff. So on that note, guys, thank you again, and we'll go ahead and call this a show.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you, Sagnik.
Thanks, Lei.
Okay, that concludes another successful episode of DABCC Radio, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I really did. I thought that, they have a great technology for one, and I thought they did a really awesome job. And Sagnik also adding a lot of great feedback and great, opinions and his views and experience on the Tintri product, and it's just really amazing what these guys are doing. So I hope you guys check out their website. Learn more about what these guys are doing, and I think you'll be quite as impressed as I am in their customer bases. So what else do I say? But head on over to their site, tintri.com, and have at it. On that note, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for listening to DABCC Radio. If you like the show, please tell a friend. That's how we grow. You know the routine. If you're a longtime listener, we grow through word of mouth. So please tell your friends. And I'd greatly appreciate that. Tell them, hey, DABCC Radio, go on over to your friendly neighborhood iTunes or App Store and download the app. And not just our podcast, but also our website, too, the news and support resources website. You can get mobile apps for that, or just visit the website itself, www.dabcc.com. And tell a friend about that, too. That'd make me real happy, and I think it would make them happy, too. So on that note, guys, it is the holiday season. Happy holidays to everyone. And I hope you guys are having a great time. It's a wonderful time of year. If you're down south like I am at the moment, then you're nice and warm. If you're up north, it feels a lot like Christmas, doesn't it? What a wonderful time of year. Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year to everybody. I'll probably say this a couple more times because we have a few more podcasts to go, but I love it. It's my favorite time of year. It's the holiday season, and we're here. So, guys, happy holidays, and thanks again for listening to DABCC Radio.
Can you say DABCC?
DABC.
Say it again, DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again, DABCC?
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.